favorite attorney, Neil Blackmon, to the show. Neil, thanks for joining.
Your attorney's favorite attorney.
What's up? How are y'all?
There he is, the GOAT. Here he is. All right, so we're going to talk a little basketball, obviously, with Neil. We haven't had Neil on since the Gators won the national championship. So, Neil, congrats to us, huh?
Yeah, congrats to us.
Wait, Neil, let me see that shirt. It says January, February, Walter Clayton Jr.
Yeah. He also got confetti still in your hair. I see confetti still in your hair, my boy.
That's right. That's right.
All right. So we do want to talk a little bit about that. But before we talk about the Gators winning the national championship again, obviously some big news came out over the last week. And that's one, the Gators got a commitment from Princeton guard Xavier Lee. Denzel Aberdeen, who was projected to be a starter on this year's upcoming roster, announced that he was going to go into the transfer portal, and then today decided to commit to the University of Kentucky. And then not to be lost, Sam Alexis also put his name in the transfer portal. So maybe we start with Denzel Aberdeen first, because that seems to be the one that has people kind of in a huff online. What did happen there?
Yeah. So it's important to talk about like a couple of things immediately. Like, one, it wasn't about role. So there are a lot of people that, Twitter's Twitter, but there are a lot of people that, he wasn't happy about Xavier Lee coming in. That had nothing to do with any of this. This started before Xavier Lee committed. And then there were, he wants to play lead. He wants to be the lead guard. He wants to be the point. Well, he was going to play some of that no matter what. Like, Denzel Aberdeen was guaranteed a starting job next year for the defending national champions. Todd Golden said he would start on 4 different occasions, including 3 with every member of the media that has covered this team since September present. Multiple people inside the building confirmed that to me when they brought in Lee, both while they were trying to get Lee and after he committed. So Aberdeen had a role that was going to be defined. This staff knows what he does well. They know what he doesn't do well. But, it wasn't about role. This is all about money. There were overtures from Texas Tech and Cincinnati as early last week. And
we got to report him, Neil.
Yeah.
We got a narc on him.
Yeah. If only there were rules about any of that. Since there aren't any rules, it doesn't really matter, right? But so Denzel went to the staff and made a demand about an amount of money that he would need to stay at Florida. And the staff responded by making an offer that was above his market slot value. So the market slot value for a player with a 7.5 point per game production, even adjusted for what they thought he could do as a starter, right? But let's just a guy at 7.5 points per game that plays great defense is around $600,000 to $800,000. $800,000 on the top end if you think he develops into a starter level player in a Power 5 league, which is what Denzel Aberdeen projected to be, an SEC starter. Florida's offer was above market slot. It just wasn't what Denzel Aberdeen demanded. And so Denzel Aberdeen slept on it, wiped his social media of Gator stuff, and was in the portal within about an hour. It stunned the staff. And I tell you this, like, this is like behind the fourth wall. Like, I texted De La Torre. I was laughing about it. Like, I was like, this isn't actually happening. There's no way he's leaving Florida. Why would he leave? People are going to cry on this dude's senior day. Like, why would you leave when they're going to take care of you financially? You're going to graduate with honors. He was going to graduate with honors from the University of Florida, not just get a degree.
Wow.
You're going to graduate with honors from a top 20 university, and you're guaranteed to start for defending national champion. Why would you leave? There were staff members that were just like, what? What just happened? So was Florida staff surprised? Of course they were. That said, you're talking about two guys, Todd Golden, Jonathan Sapphire, who are the functional GMs of this program. And if they thought Denzel Aberdeen was irreplaceable, they would have matched his number. And they went well above what market value is. But Denzel got a $2.2 million offer from Kentucky, and he took it. Hey, good for him, man. Go get your money, young man. But no, Florida wasn't going to pay Denzel Aberdeen $2.2 million. They were prepared to pay him 7 figures of money and let him finish his degree and let him start and all the connections that come with that. Mm-hmm. From a basketball standpoint, we could talk about that, but that's the backstory of it.
What was the difference? Like you said 2.2, what was Florida at? Right at a mill? Like what's the difference we're talking here?
So the difference after taxes, because Kentucky, you just chopped $300,000 off of that 2.2 immediately, right? Because of your taxes. Mm-hmm. So your Kentucky taxes, the difference, the gap to bridge was about $700,000.
Wow. So
choices were made.
Yeah,
choices were made.
That's a nice mansion, depending on where you want to live at, man.
It is, and so look, there's two ways to look at it, right? But the two realities are, one, Kentucky made him a hell of an offer, right? It's hard to turn. That's a lot of cheeseburgers.
That's a Will Wade offer. That's a strong ass offer.
It's a strong ass offer, as Will Wade would say.
And what are Denzel's NBA chances?
Well, that's the second part of the conversation, Dan, right? Like the second part of the conversation, and the reason that this is so interesting, I think, is just outside of just from the college hoop standpoint, is Denzel Aberdeen's best path to the NBA is probably a 2-way contract, where then he impresses and makes the team and gets the full-time contract, what Castleton got, right? Last week. But Denzel, he's probably not getting drafted either way. He's not getting drafted at Florida, where he's a guaranteed starter.
Right.
Unless he has just a gargantuan breakout year. And then he's probably not getting drafted in Kentucky. And at Kentucky, he took 2-2. That's not a carved out role. There's a chance he's the fourth guard there. Now, I had some heated Twitter back and forth about that today with everybody from Gator fans to Kentucky fans and the reason it's a heated debate is because no one knows the answer. Some are like, he's starting for sure. And others are like, yeah, I don't know. Jasper Johnson is a top 10 recruit. He's coming in there. You think he's coming in there to sit behind Denzel Aberdeen? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Jalen Lowe is coming from Pitt, more productive player than Denzel throughout his career. He's not sitting. So, Otega Elway's back. That's a guy who is going to get drafted. So there's your 3 guards. There's a chance he's the fourth perimeter guy. But to answer your question, I think what Denzel has done is he's taken money up front, which great, good for him. If he has a big year at Florida where his role is known, where he's a known commodity, where he's in a system that suits him, maybe he makes that on the back end, right? Maybe the European contract offer offsets the difference between Kentucky's NIL offer and Florida's. Maybe a 2-way deal like what KJ Simpson got at Colorado last year when he turned down bigger NIL money, stayed at Colorado, played, beat the Gators in the NCAA tournament, and got a multi-million-dollar deal with the Hornets on a 2-way, right? Maybe Denzel does something like that, and then the payday on the back end happens. But Denzel took it up front. Now, Denzel might win that bet, right? He could have a great year at Kentucky and then get that money on the back end anyway. But he's going to play in a system that's brand new. He might not start. They are really, 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 really heavily reliant on pick and roll at Kentucky. And if you want to play the one at Kentucky, you better be elite in the pick and roll. Guess who Florida's worst guard in the pick and roll was?
Denzel Aberdeen.
You got it, Dan. So
Dan knows ball.
Certified ball knower, Dan Thompson. Just inform the masses.
Sorry, we're gonna make that the episode title: Certified Ball Knower Dan Thompson.
It was all the meet and greets that Dan has had that's helped him be a ball knower.
Yeah, I mean, these are all like, so, I had to push back a little. People are like, well, what risk is he taking? He's taking all this money up front. And he is, and that's great. And I'm happy for Zell. I stand by every tweet I said about him being everything that's right with the sport. He is. He stuck around for 3 years. He could have bolted. He could have left. He embraced his role. And guess what? His reward for embracing his role was $2.2 million from Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
That's everything that's right with the sport. But
it almost seems like he bet against himself.
I do think he bet against himself. And the only way he cashes in, he has to succeed at Kentucky, which I think will be harder than it would have been at Florida. And I think there's plenty of data that backs that up. And so, yeah, I mean, it's almost as if, and by the way, like you guys know this better than anyone, you can't tell a 22-year-old kid that he's not playing in the NBA.
No.
Like, there's no way that Denzel Aberdeen made any of these decisions going, oh, man, I might not make it to the National Basketball Association.
You don't think so? I think so. I think
I'm going to take this 2-2 up front. I don't believe that for a second.
Ain't nobody hearing that. I can't lie. He right about that one.
No competitor.
Man, I don't know if I've won a natty, right? I got a national championship at University of Florida. I'm from Orlando. That's the end all be all right there. Wealth. Winning. If I don't think I'm gonna play in the NBA, I may as well go get more money to not go to the NBA. There's other leagues in the world, so I think he could go make money elsewhere. But the opportunity to make an extra $700,000-$800,000.
Yeah.
And I kind of know because these guys at that level, why he still think he could go probably have a crazy year. He definitely know the depth chart at Kentucky. He knows the other guards that's there, and who's returning. And he also know what he's hearing from scouts, his agents, and everybody else. So it was probably, a little bit of financial advice, securing himself. And then 2025, what sports is becoming, bro, it's hard for me to get upset. I'm a big Aberdeen fan. It took me by surprise, but I don't know, he may not be in the focal point of this offense. I know Todd Golden may have told him that, but I don't know, like with the moves they made with Xavier Lee, I don't know if he's the star of this offense coming back next year. So he probably just went after winning a natty, being at the mountaintop at Florida, like money just probably makes more sense to him.
Yeah, no, and like again, I mean, I'm not going to fault him for that. Now, I mean, I think, and I'm not, I think there's a bigger basketball risk at Kentucky, but he's willing to do that for more money, and that's fine. And by the way, he's still national champion. Yeah. He's still a guy who played a key role in Florida winning that national championship. He had massive buckets against UConn and Houston in the NCAA tournament. So I mean,
now you got to catch these hands, Neil. That's all it is. Now you got to catch these hands when they come to the, to the O-Dome, baby. It is what it is.
That's what's going to happen, man. He's going to catch them. And I mean, like, it's so funny. Yeah. I sent a tweet. I don't know when it was. Who knows? It was a month ago, and I was like, man, Denzel I think it might have been senior day. I was like, man, you think this was an emotional? You imagine how this building is going to respond to Denzel Aberdeen in the portal era. And now he's going to get, they're going to boo him out of the building.
Yeah, he was.
Pyburn, nothing caught me by surprise, man. Because Pyburn left a similar legacy on the football field. You feel me? Like after that, I was just like, bro, who would pass up being just a fan favorite? Because that's what Aberdeen would have been. Same thing with Pyburn. They passed that up for assumingly more bucks, whatever it may be, man. NIL errors here.
Yeah, Denzel was so when Todd got the job, Florida had 3 basketball commits out of high school. 2 said, "Peace out, later, goodbye. Don't bother coming to visit. We're out of here." And Todd and Sapphire drove down thinking, this is what Todd told us, drove down thinking that, like, man, how are we going to convince this kid to stay? Like, we got to get this kid to stay. They get there, get to the living room, and he's like, "Coach, born a Gator, can't wait to be a Gator. Doesn't matter if it's you, if it's Billy Donovan, if it's Mike White, I'm coming to Florida."
Well, if it's Mike White, probably not.
Well, he committed to Mike White.
I know, it's just a joke, Nick. Come on.
But like that was the kind of, and those stories would have kept coming out all summer. They would have came out in October when the team got together. It would have been the story you told as you're getting into January, February, March, senior day. Like you said, Neil, it would have been Denzel Aberdeen jerseys up and down the row, teary-eyed, and now it's going to be like, I see fans being like, hold off on giving the rings until Kentucky plays, and don't give Denzel his that night. Just make him look at his old teammates' rings, and hey, man, yours will be in the mail, maybe.
Yeah, we're going to FedEx yours. We did it ground. You'll get it sometime in the next week. I want to. There's a comment here. And Neil, I think that you'd be good. Nick, obviously, you might have to have some discretion in this conversation, but it's a conversation about being outbid. And I don't understand how the school outspends. Are we really who we think we are? I think it's important to know the difference between being able. Oh, we lost Neil. He'll be back. Being able to be outspent versus what a slot value is and what you determine somebody's worth on the roster. I think that's a big thing. It's not necessarily just does Florida not have the money. And I don't think that Florida couldn't potentially go get the money if that's what they feel like they needed to do to keep him. But I think there's a limitation to how much a school wants to spend on a certain player, especially when that's a very public conversation that gets had.
Yeah, you just can't make emotional decisions. It's business decisions. You know, like if another program is willing to overspend for something that's on your roster, then by all means, you just gotta let it walk out the door, bro. You know, that's just a part of the business. So, and you can
Florida's
still
outspending some schools right now for some players that other schools didn't want to pay for. That we are.
Right. It's a two-way street. If you enjoy the portal, right, of the upgrades, you gotta. You know, eventually somebody's gonna come knocking at your door for some of your talent as well. And I think these guys do a good job. Both programs, I would say basketball, football, even baseball, just the analytics of value, right? How much should we give this guy? You know, what's our max in letting these guys walk? I know Billy does it in football. Todd is doing it in basketball. Can you go find somebody at the same position and give you the same amount of production at your value, at your, your budget? I don't think they were being cheap. $2.2 million is a lot of money, to give a guy that's probably not going to be the focal of your offense. That's probably going to be Xavier Lee.
Right. Anthony Pons said, so none of the players we lose are worth to us what they are to other universities. That's just the way that life works. It's the way the job search works. It's the way a lot of things in life work, is you are worth what somebody is willing to pay you, and schools will value you at a certain amount and say, hey, this is what our offer is. They might even exceed what that amount that they had slotted for the year for that role is to keep you. But you also can't stop somebody else from overpaying you or finding a different value in what that money is. It happens in the job world all the time. Neil, the question was, I know you lost.
Real quick before that. This is because Neil can talk about this too. So the whole issue with that I foresee happening, I've been pretty spot on when it comes to NIL for like 3 years. But the issue I see happening now, July 1st, when the schools can start paying athletes and then companies like when I work for Florida Victorious, there's a fair market value and you have to report this. We live in a capitalist society, and fair market value is what somebody's worth paying you for a good or a service. Dan and I can make the same exact shirt, and I can charge $1,000 for it, and Dan can charge 10. If somebody buys my shirt for $1,000, the exact same shirt that Dan is selling for 10, they valued the shirt at 1,000. I think we're going to have a system that rolls out July 1st, and then there will be lawsuits. And then real quickly, it'll be like, what do you mean I'm only worth $600,000? This school wants to pay me 2.6. You're taking $2 million away from me.
Right.
I'll see you in court. Because in our capitalist society, you are worth, or a service is worth what someone's willing to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
And Kentucky was willing to pay, allegedly, $2.2 million for Denzel, and Florida wasn't. It's not that we don't have money, but also I get this thrown at me a lot. Didn't we just raise $1.5 million for Florida Victorious for? And I'm like, the market's crazy, especially basketball. And and a lot of the coaches around college basketball right now are nervous about that rev share because there's a bunch of schools in the Big East that love basketball that don't have football programs.
Florida also just paid a lot of money for Xavier Lee, the guy that we're just about to talk about.
But also don't have to send that money. So like the money right now is funny. It's funny money.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Florida also, I mean, Kentucky is going to have the most expensive roster in the sport. Like they're going to be at $12 million, right? And Florida is going to slide into the top 5 in SEC hoops NIL, thanks to the money that Florida Victorious raised and what Gary donated. And, they're going to be in better shape than they were. So what Florida has is they got 2 guys, Golden and Jonathan Sapphire, who built, with help from the others, but those 2 guys primarily are like the GMs, right? And they have they've got a cap. Here's what amount of money we've got to spend. And, I think prudently, Thomas Houck and Alex Condon commanding more of that money. So Alex, we'll see what happens with Alex, but Tommy, more than, everybody kind of expects Tommy back. I think there's still a chance he tests the waters, but he's not going to get a combine invite almost certainly. So that would just be to get NBA feedback. Whereas Alex is going to go to the combine, which is why I've been kind of like, well, I don't like talking about Kondo because I don't know what's going to happen with him at the combine. Right. So the combine could go great. And then he's in the top 20 and he's gone.
I didn't realize they could go all the way to the combine and then make a decision.
Yeah. I mean, and he should.
I think that's pretty cool.
He should. He's going to go.
I would do it every year. Are you kidding me?
Oh yeah. So, I mean, they can do it once, but.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Probably would sue him to let him keep going.
Yeah. Now
I got one more in me.
No, but Corey's right though. Like, I kind of expect Alex back, but a lot of that is based on where he's at in like mock draft boards. It's all gut, right? Because he's not at the combine. It's irresponsible of me to be like, oh yeah, Kondo's coming back for sure. So I'm not going to say any of that. But the point is, like, Florida's got to put NIL into those guys. They had to put NIL into Zell. Now they don't, but they carved out some money. But yeah, I mean, Xavier Lee, he came here for less than he's like Elijah Martin did. Florida wasn't the highest bidder in the Xavier Lee sweepstakes. That was St. John's. St. John's had about 2.5 on the table for that kid. That wasn't what Florida was spending, but Florida could sell him on, hey, you're going to be, like Corey said, you're going to be the focal point or one of the focal points of our offense. And here's what we've been able to do for guards. It's a pretty good video.
And we got White Buffalo.
Yeah, totally. And we got White Buffalo. What else do you need?
No.
Not much.
Yeah.
Not be able to buy White Buffalo. Shout out to Zika.
Yeah. It's a vibe.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I think Florida's obviously going to have to go get a starter quality player, but that gets back to kind of the central point that I was making, which is that if Todd Golden and Jonathan Sapphire and now Carlin Hartman doing some team building with those guys, because Carlin is a guy who deserves to be a head coach and will be a head coach soon, but deserves to be. Now, he shouldn't leave for any opportunity. He should leave for the right one, because it's hard to have your first head coaching job be one that, somebody that's as qualified as Carlin deserves to get it. So, but point being, like, if they thought Denzel was irreplaceable, they would have found that money. But at some point, you do reach an event horizon where you're like, man, we are already offering you over market value. We have gone up in that offer. We are making guarantees that other programs are not making. And you have familiarity here. You have all the connections you would, and I don't know if Denzel loses those connections because he goes to Kentucky for a year or not. I mean, he might be able to call up Florida alumni in 10 years and they'll take care of him, no problem. Who knows? But I feel like Florida made a strong play for Aberdeen. He just chose to go to Kentucky, and that's his choice. It's his life, man.
Yep. All right. Well, let's move on to Xavier Lee, because I think that's certainly an awesome bright spot that got a little overshadowed here. Yeah. Princeton guard transfer, Tommy Hawk's teammate.
Yeah.
So we're building our own little central Pennsylvania basketball team. Transfers from Princeton. Can you tell us a little bit about his game? Comes with 16.9 points per game, 6.1 rebounds per game. I think he only has just 1 year left. Is that right?
Yeah, 1 year eligibility. Okay. What jumps off the screen on him is just how he creates for others. His assist rate was 33rd in the country, which is a 37% assist rate is pretty ridiculous on 28.5% usage. That's even more ridiculous, because that means on 28.5% of Princeton's possessions, he has the ball. And on 37% of those possessions, he's creating an assist and a basket for someone else. Those are outrageously good numbers, and they'll travel league to league. If you can create for others, you can create for others. The like little question marks are just efficiency wise. He's not a terribly efficient scorer. I mean, he's gonna have nights where, if he takes 13 shots, he might go 4 for 13. Now, he could go 4 for 13 and have 3 of those be threes and have 7 assists and 1 turnover. And I think a lot of times on those nights, Todd Golden will get up on the podium and be like, we liked how Xavier played tonight. Yeah, the ball didn't go in.
Yeah. I'm going to pull up his field goal or his stats here from Princeton. It's going to be a crowded screen here, but I think it's kind of worth making the point. All right, let's see how we can do this that Neil isn't completely shut off. All right, there we are. So, yeah, I mean, you look, 5 of 15, 8 of 14, 4 of 11, 8 of 16, 9 of 22, 10 of 14, 5 11, 3 13, 6 10, 1 9, 7 16. So, and then there's the games that he shoots 12 for 19 for 33 points.
Yeah.
So certainly going to be something that I think there's one thing that Brandon Connell just brought up. Shout out to Brandon, only averaged 2 turnovers a game. Certainly something that Florida cares a lot about there. But I still think that there's, certainly going to be an opportunity for him to make an impact big time next season and be that assist maker that Florida needs out of that point guard position.
Yeah, and he won't be like, he could be the kind of sun around which the offense orbits a little bit, but he won't be. When people scout Florida, they're going to be concerned with Houck and with Kondo if he's back, and with Florida's front court. That's what's going to scare people. So, I think that'll be good for him. Now, granted, a lot of that assumed Aberdeen, and now they got to fill that spot. But I think with Xavier, he hasn't had a cast like this to create for. And I mean, I think Houck is probably going to be, if he's not preseason SEC Player of the Year, he's going to be second
in the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, it's either going to be him first or it's going to be Otega Owe from Kentucky.
I don't like that.
It's not going to be anybody else.
So I know Florida's looking at a few others.
Ben Henshaw from
Aussie.
Got to get him into school.
Is that an issue?
That's the word. Just some academics, making sure they can make the academic thing. But if you want to read some tea leaves and go super down the message board rabbit hole, the fact that he's been working out with Condon and all that seems pretty promising. Florida has the money for him. So, you got to get him into school. That would be good. There's another guy named Cedric Coward who went to Washington State, got hurt a little bit last year. Florida has pursued him. I think that he will either end up at Duke or he will go to the G League. He's a kid that may do what Aberdeen did, except just take the pro contract, because he just dealt with a year where he came out of the gates, looked like one of the better players in America, got hurt, and now he's lived that. And I'm sure that, like, whatever the offer from Duke is, it's going to have to be, hey, we got a bigger deal than your two-way contract, so make this year worth it. And even then, like, just the injury risk is a lot for a guy who will get an opportunity to play in the G League as long as he doesn't have another injury at a minimum. So I don't think Florida's really in on him as much, but I think Henshaw is certainly there. A.J. Brown visiting tomorrow, Zay's brother. I would expect him to be a Gator. And then Florida's going to need something from the freshmen. They're going to need something from C.J. Ingram, who did not have a good Jordan Brand tournament. Looked a little lost offensively. Looked a little small. Looked like he needs to, get with Victor Lopez and the strength coach and get to work. And then Alex Lloyd, who had a monstrous Jordan Brand tournament and is just a walking bucket and has been one for a few months now. He dropped a 40 burger on Columbus earlier, playing the Boozers. Played on the Boozers AAU team. He was a big reason Florida was in on them for so long. Could be good. He could be impactful immediately. Like, I used to think it was maybe the other way around because of the way C.J. Ingram defends. And now I think that as long as Alex, who's real wiry and little, I mean little like skinny, as long as he can handle the physicality in non-conference play, and he shows that he can, he's going to be a guy that they can get baskets from. And so he's going to play, I think, more than people think. And the Jordan Brand is a good barometer for that because, I mean, that's some of the best talent in the country that was there. And, I mean, Alex looked better than one of the Boozers, that's for sure. He was spectacular this weekend or last week.
Perfect. All right, guys, any more questions before we let Neil on his way this evening?
Just one, and it's one that I've seen. I haven't had the answer to it. I think it's the nature of playing basketball in the Ivy. I tweeted a couple of clips from Lee, and a lot of the responses, to sum them up, are playing against a lot of slow white guys. And I'm like, wow, he's playing against a lot of Fortune 500 CEOs, future Fortune 500 CEOs. What will the step up in competition be? How will we know that? And how does his game translate? Maybe.
He's legit 6'3.5", 6'4". He's long. He's longer than Walt was. I don't think he's as bouncy as Walt. Like Walt, you don't think Walt looks like a great athlete, and then he blows past you. So, that
Speaking of not looking like somebody, I'll be honest, as a guy that doesn't watch a lot of Ivy League basketball, when I heard the name Xavier Lee, that's not what I was expecting.
Yeah.
I thought I was like, I was thinking a brother got into Princeton. That's good work right there.
Yeah.
It's a little
He's
cognitive dissonance. Sorry, Neil.
No, it's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
You're right. I mean, look, Xavier's gonna need the physicality is gonna be a thing. But the Ivy League is a better basketball league than, say, the MAAC, where Walt came from. It's a better basketball league than the league Belmont plays in, where Will Richard came from. So, I don't think that like the team that runs the Ivy League, Yale, is like bully ball. Like you think if they're in the Ivy League, they must play like some pretty like make basketball a science experiment or something. And and Yale is like, nah, we're gonna get 50 rebounds. We're gonna punk you. And so Princeton, they do run good stuff. They run great offense, all that. But the reality is that's a pretty good league that he's coming from. So I don't think the jump up in competition is as big as like just that physicality element. And there's nothing like it in the SEC, man. Like you all, like, part of Texas Tech, their coach, that's after the Elite Eight game, like we're talking to him and he's like, man, we just got tired. Like we thought we were chasing Walt around and he was tired. And then the last 5 minutes of the game, like we were just a step slow to everything. And that was Texas Tech, and they had some dogs. So, yeah, that's going to be an adjustment. But anyway, appreciate you guys.
Absolutely, Neil. Let everybody know where they can find you online and read your articles. And
yeah, man. Just Florida Basketball Hour is the podcast. Patreon.com/Florida BB Hour. Subscribe. Fawcett does all kinds of talk about making basketball science experiment. He does some great stuff that helps you learn a lot about hoops, I think. And then my stuff's at Saturday Down South. So y'all can find me on Twitter too. But
told Eric to talk nerdy to me last time we had him on.
Man, that guy's a savant. The man's a savant.
Love both of you guys. We appreciate you joining the show again, Neil. We'll talk to you soon, my friend, and enjoy this Gators national championship for another 50 weeks.
Wait, before you leave, Neil.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Certified ball knower, Dan Thompson.
Certified ball knower.